Let's talk about lists in Excel versus formatting lists as tables. Now, a list in Excel is something we've seen in a bunch of lectures already, and I'm sure something that you're using all the time in Excel. It's simply a series of columns and rows where the columns represent individual fields or attributes that you're tracking, and the rows are individual records. And in case it hasn't been clear, remember that entirely blank rows or entirely blank columns, those define the edges of your list. So never use blank rows or columns when you're trying to format or space your list. No blank rows or columns. Now, with a list, we can do all kinds of things, right? We can sort it, we can filter it, we can add formatting, and even conditional formatting that helps your data stand out. You can create pivot tables or charts from that list, but there's also this option to format your list as a table. And while it may appear to simply be a way to add easy formatting to your list, there's actually a super powerful functionality that comes when you format your list as a table. It lets Excel automatically detect and include any new records you add to that list. Let me demonstrate what I mean. Here we have a list with salespeople and their sales totals for a given month. This list looks perfect for a chart. So I'm going to do a real quick demonstration to make a chart. We'll just select the data, and then under the Insert tab, I'm just going to click and do a basic column chart. We see one column for each month, and the colored parts of each of those columns, those represent the different salespeople. But wait a second. Let's imagine that I've got this simple table, and it's a few weeks later now, and I want to add another month of sales. If I start typing those into my original data set, as you'd imagine, the chart is unaffected. In fact, if I wanted this object, which in this case is a chart, but it could be a pivot table or anything else, to reflect that new data, I'd have to manually edit that range. Now imagine a more complex scenario where maybe these new sales values are added automatically from some other sheet that it's linked to, or maybe there's a dynamic import that happens every other day. So every time that you wanted to visualize the latest data, even though the information is automatically added to the list, you'd have to manually edit the chart. What I'm going to go ahead and do is show you how to fix that problem. First, let's delete this original chart, and let's try it again. But this time, first, I'm going to take my list and format it as a table. It's a super easy process. You simply click anywhere in the data under your Home tab, and then click that Format as Table button. You can choose whatever format style you want, and there are a bunch of styles here, as you can see. Remember that all of these colors are actually based off of your spreadsheet's theme color, so if you wanted to change the color choices you have, that's controlled under the Page Layout tab on the far left side. I'll just pick a random format here for now. Now, in addition to that formatting, note this new little corner in the bottom right of your table. That corner is an indicator that if you add new rows to the bottom of this list or new columns to the right of this list, Excel will automatically incorporate those as part of the table. So what does this mean in practice? That means if I once again make that chart from this data, the same way we did before, Insert tab, I'll choose the column. Let me do a clustered column chart here just to show you something new. And now if we add that new month's worth of data, you'll see Excel automatically picks that data up and adds it to the chart directly. This is also true for any other object like pivot tables or something else. As soon as you turn that list into a table, it will reference the entire data set even when you add new data. This is also true for functions. So if I do a sum function, let's say for a given month, note that I'm not referencing the cell area directly in that formula. Instead, I'm referencing this new table field reference. And what that means is if you manually type in the cell addresses and overwrite this function, it would work, but a click and drag will use this dynamic naming convention. So that if we once again added more data, like let's say a new salesperson with totals were added to that month, it now gets automatically included in the sum. I don't have to edit that function. The Format as Table option may seem like a simple formatting action, but this ability to dynamically include new data makes it an incredibly powerful tool to make it much more efficient and easy to manage lists that are regularly updating. If I were you, I'd be formatting my lists as tables whenever I get the chance.